Okay, so we have the entire cabinet of the 1937 405E now dismantled. All the electronics inside have been removed, including the speakers, minus the record changer, which we're in the process of removing. So you can see underneath, everything is now cleared out and ready for restoration. We've removed the motor and also the drive shaft from the changer mechanism above. There's our relay with a cover off. We have all of our parts categorized and in bags. That way we don't lose anything. We know exactly where everything goes right back to where it was. We have our main AC power strip here, which also connects to the motor and our capacitor. You can see the speakers have been removed. The bass speaker would have been on the left, the treble speaker on the right. Radio tuner now removed. You can see here remnants of mice. I've cleaned out most of the cabinet, but I have some cleaning to do. We have our compartment over here, which is where the record changer sits. I've removed the lampshade cover. The changer magazine has been disconnected, so it now flows freely. We'll remove the cradle so we can remove the changer from the cabinet without damaging anything. Head shell's been taken off. This is a magnetic style pickup. We will be rebuilding it. This was the last year for the magnetic head in this style. They still made a magnetic head in the later brown Bakelite head shell. That was in 1938. In 39, 1940, they switched over to a crystal cartridge. Higher fidelity, better output, better quality of sound. So the changer had a lot of dirt and grime on it. We've cleaned off a little portion here so you can see just how clean this changer is going to end up being here once we're done. Let us go ahead and look at the front panel up here. I have since removed it off of the cabinet. So we'll be cleaning that, remove the escutcheons as well, because those have been sent off for replating. Yes, this machine is going to look exactly like it did brand new. We're going to try our best to the ability to make that happen. I take pride in excellent restorations on these Capehart units for myself and others. And we will cut no corners, and everything will be to originality standards and factory standards to the best of our ability. So now that we have the cabinet completely dismantled, let's check out the electronics. Okay, electronics before us for the 1937 Capehart 405E. The 1937 electronics for Capehart included biamplification, an all-wave tuner, separate bass and treble speaker, and the triple unit construction, as you can see before us, 3 chassis, which is rarely seen in pre-1930s radios. Only the top-end radios typically had multiple chassis. Capehart was one of the finest. All-wave tuner here. You can see the eye-tube up top. We have the dial face and all the knobs and shafts below it. Have some mice damage here. Several wires on various pilot lamps have been chewed through. There's a lot of rodent damage on this chassis. You can see all the rust from mouse urine. Overall, a very impressive tuner for 1937. We have our variable IF cans here, our electrolytic here, another coil here. We have our metal tubes here in the chassis. Fulmer over here, 4-gang selector. Very high quality for 1937. Behind that tuner, we have the 12-inch Jensen speaker. The cone is absolutely immaculate. Likely has never been removed from the cabinet, this being the first time. These are very heavy pieces right here, both speakers. The 13.5-inch Jensen, which controls the bass, cone is absolutely perfect. It's mint. I removed these to check them and also to test the electronics on the bench. Both these speakers are very high quality and top of the line for 1937 technology. Here's our treble amplifier. You can see the connection inputs on the front. Our speaker would go over here. Then we have our connection to our bass amplifier. Our 2 output tubes right here, which are the 6L6s. These are a newer style, clearly. Then we have our 6 C5s and our rectifier, 5Z3. 3 electrolytics here. The chassis is dirty. We will be cleaning all 3 chassis and trying to tend to the corrosion to the best of our abilities. There's a small tube sticker there that is factory original. Here's our bass amplifier. Rather large, rather impressive. We have push-pull 6L6s here as well, but these are in parallel. So we have 4 output tubes, 2 rectifiers, an input tube here, and various is there. So very impressive chassis. Puts out quite a bit of wattage, both of these, especially the bass amp here off to the right. So let's go ahead and check out the undersides of these chassis and see just exactly what we'll be dealing with from an electronic standpoint on parts. Okay, we'll go ahead and check the undersides of all 3 chassis, and from what I can tell you right now is they've pretty much never been touched. Rather fascinating. So you can see original wax capacitors inside, resistors, mica capacitors, electrolytic cans. Nothing on this chassis appears to have been touched. Now there is mouse damage. Here we have bare wires in these 2 locations here. We'll have to deal with those wires that go to the trimmers. There's also some more rodent damage up here, as you can see. This is a rather intricate tuner, so we'll have a little bit of work to do there. But all the original wax capacitors, resistors, everything will have to be checked and gone through. Rather impressive. That's never been touched before. The original 1937 components all the way through. Here's our treble amplifier that is also almost original. Here we have 2 bypass capacitors, which are newer replacements, at least installed within the last 30 or 40 years. Aside from that, we have 1 newer cap right here. That's probably from the 1980s. Excuse me. Our bar resistor here. That's the original one there. It looks pretty much untouched underneath. You can see the original resistors, those are all still there in their original place from the factory. Over here to our bass amplifier, we have a few capacitors that have been replaced. We have 2 larger ones here. These 2, this blue one here, this electrolytic. We have another cap here. 2 more electrolytics. So it looks like this chassis has been gone through on a minor detail. Older caps here. These 4, but the resistors, for the most part, they all look to appear to be original. And looks like we may have a replacement down here, which goes to this area here. I don't know if this, I haven't done any testing yet, but this looks corroded. We may have an open section here on this multi-tap resistor, so this may be a replacement for that. That should be no issue, as long as we have a replacement, which I have all those parts on hand. But that chassis is pretty much untouched as well. It's probably the most restored chassis out of all 3, and a critical one for sure. So as you can see, we have most all original components still inside this unit, these 3 chassis, and we'll be overhauling everything. So we'll start with the amplifier chassis and work our way to the tuner. We'll be testing everything along the way, and afterward we'll be performing a IF sweep on the receiver, as well as utilizing the writer channels for any further troubleshooting as needed. I do use antique test equipment. A few of these pieces are under restoration, but they're all from the late 1930s, early 40s. It's a departure from what I'm used to. We still have some modern equipment that we use. It's just hidden right now. So we're utilizing the technology that was used back in the 1930s, and we'll be back here soon with more.